In 1994, the Lange watch was first revealed to the world by A.Lange Söhne. So it is a great pleasure to be joined by a man who has owned many of the Lange watches, and I think it's fair to say has loved them. So, Michael Hickcox, tell us about that first moment where you first came across the Lange. What did you think?
Sure. I actually remember it quite well. I don't remember exactly when it was. It was late 90s, 97, 98. It was in a magazine. I remember just flipping through the watch magazine. There was an ad, and back then it was such a new brand, so it wasn't the great big polished advertising we might see today. It was just a quarter or a third of the column on the page, but it had the Lange there, and there represented was, a watch that unlike anything that I'd ever seen before, and it really captured the eye, and I thought, oh, what's that? And I have to really discover more about that. It was a very effective ad from that point of view.
It worked on you.
It did.
And particularly worked on you. I've read a lot about you. You were immersed in the world of watches in quite a detailed way from a very young age by your godfather.
Yes, I mean, it's very much a family hobby. It's one that you get to share with others. It's like any hobby, it's about people. I think watches are just a fascinating sort of insight into others. And for me, I was fortunate enough to have someone who's like another father that I sort of explored the watch world with. And we just happened to be traveling in Europe in April of 1998, went to our first Basel fair. I toured my first watch factory. I absolutely loved it, and so it was only maybe 6 or 7 months later in November of 1998 that I got to come to Dresden and visit Lange for the first time.
But to go back to your first response to the watch itself, you say you were on forums on the internet and talking to other collectors and other experts. What was the world of watches? What was its first reaction to the Lange? Was it universally positive or a mixture?
In the watch world in general, there was tremendous excitement because this was watchmaking at the very highest level, the very highest. And there weren't many companies that were doing the kind of finishing that Lange did. We'll talk about some of the innovation that they brought to the industry. This was terrifically exciting.
And then, of course, you decided to do what every watch collector has to decide: what do I buy? And you have bought. What was your first Lange?
My first Lange was a pink gold Lange. It was an interesting time actually because there wasn't a broad dealer network in the U.S. Where I was living at the time, and so I actually flew a third of the way around the world to go buy this watch.
Wow!
Which
so it wasn't
was
just walking
exciting.
into a local shop. You travelled to get it.
That's right. I mean, this was a period of time you had the internet, so it seemed close. But if you actually wanted to see one of the watches, I mean, for me on the west coast of the United States, there wasn't a dealer for 2,500 miles.
Could I ask you about the pleasure of owning a Lange? What sticks out for you with that?
One of the wonderful things about this watch is the terrific engineering that Lange brings to bear that you would certainly expect and hope for in a German precision watch. You really get a sense for this when you wind the watch and you feel the smooth operation. You see the power reserve indicator rising, and you can compare that tactile sensation to all sorts of other watches and understand what a true luxury this is, how well made this piece is.
And do you get a similar level of pleasure from the mechanism itself, the look of it? Is that another part of the private joy of ownership?
Without a doubt, and of course Lange's finishing is just absolutely top-notch. The Lange is actually a fairly austere movement because it has this German three-quarter plate, which is a very stable, very secure way to make a caliber. It's one that maybe you don't see as much going on, but it affords the opportunity to have terrific Geneva stripes on it, fantastic finishing. This is clearly one of the great enjoyable things.
So I have to use that opportunity to ask, could I possibly see what you're wearing at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. So I brought two of my Lange with me today. On the wrist, I have a platinum Lange. This one very unusual because it has blue steeled hands on it, which is something that It's not a unique piece by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not terrifically common. This is the so-called stealth, the Lange one stealth.
The stealth.
But then the hands have been changed to be much easier to read with the blue steel, so it's no longer technically a stealth. The other watch in my pocket here is a very early model, one of the first models of the Lange one. This is a yellow gold model with printed dial, also blue steeled hands, a terrifically legible watch as well, with the very big contrast between the hands and the dial.
You call that the stealth model?
Well, I mean, this is what the
unofficial
community
term.
does. It's a well-known way to refer to it. Stealth because it's really a tremendous amount of luxury, and it's not something that perhaps is as obvious or noticeable.
And that feels to me like part of the A.Lange Söhne brand. It's not the showing off, it's the knowing that it is working beautifully and looking beautifully on the wrist. Is that important to you?
It is important to me. I think people wear nice watches for all sorts of reasons. Some people definitely wear them to communicate something or to have a signaling effect. I think perhaps a lot of Lange owners own them not for that reason, but really because of the quality. They know the engineering that's gone into it. It's more of a signaling effect that they'd like to have with themselves than with someone else. I will say at the same time, when you do meet someone else on those rare occasions that might also be wearing a Lange, this is also a wonderful moment. And I literally had someone chase me down the gangplank of an airplane while we were boarding because she had seen that I was wearing a Lange, and she ran up to me because she wanted to show me the Lange that she was wearing. And we didn't speak the same language whatsoever in terms of vocal communication, but we certainly did in terms of watches. That was pretty special.
Michael Hickcox, thank you so much. A wonderful introduction to the Lange one.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.